Yo, what up? We're back, baby, and it's for UFC 248. This is a big card. I'm actually going to this card, so really excited. And yeah, man, I mean, excellent card. 2 title fights. It would have been, really incredible. I mean, I'm gonna go down real quick and hold up, because I don't remember exactly every single fight that got canceled, but there was a lot of look at Evloev versus Andrade was the original fight that got canceled. Then Evloev was supposed to fight Jamal Emmers. Then he pulled off as well. So, hope Mavzar's doing well. He actually got hit while he was on a motorcycle, so that's a really scary thing, hit by a car. So hopefully he's doing a little bit better. It seemed like he just kind of had like a lot of scrapes though, and his skin was kind of peeling a little bit, but it didn't seem like he had any major injuries. So. But Jeremy Stevens versus Calvin Kattar is supposed to be on this card. Derek Brunson, Edmund Shabazian, Whitaker Cannonier, Whitaker Darren Till was rumored, and so if those fights are on the card, it would have been like an absolute banger, one of the the best cards of the year, probably for the entire year. Wouldn't have been able to get matched, but now it's just a very, very solid card still. But last week I did have a few people hit me up like, why didn't you do a recap for last week? And yeah, so I'm definitely going to do one right now, and I just was a little bit busy, but I'm going to try to do these every time. And like I said, I also am going to try to start doing a weekly fan questions video every Wednesday. So on the community tab, I wrote a little bit about that, and I put down, put your questions there. So if anyone does have any questions for this Wednesday's video, make sure to put them down there, and I'll try to answer them. And yeah, so hopefully that could be a new segment that we do here. And I'm going to start trying to do some more videos when the Dana White Contender Series comes out, things like that, and where I could actually use film and actually show you guys, that while I'm breaking it down, because with the UFC it's a little bit hard to get around the copyright issues and all that. But yeah, so getting into the first fight here, Sean Brady, Ismail Nardiev. Brady was the play of the week. He was an underdog on Monday, I believe, I know he was an underdog when I gave you guys the tip, but I think he might have closed as the slight favorite. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know that, he went in there and he struggled in the first round. Nardiev obviously is an explosive guy, and, he was outstriking him. The jab was pretty money for Nardiev. And even, that Friday at the weigh-ins, Nardiev went right up in Brady's face, and I did kind of get a little bit nervous. He looked a lot bigger. But yeah, in the second and third round, Sean Brady, he started countering with the hands, and he got the wrestling working, and I thought he outstruck him and outgrappled him in the last 2 rounds. It really kind of dominated the fight. Nardiev just has some deficiencies, man. When he gets grappled against the cage, he kind of doesn't really know how to stand up and disengage well. He has his feet way too close together. He'll cross his feet at times, and also, he was doing very low percentage moves, flying knees, things like that, after he already got taken down, and his coach was telling him, keep the distance. So very poor fight IQ. All those things are stuff to look at, when you're thinking about betting someone in the future, because those are red flags. Even if you like what they do technically, you like how they look in certain fights, if they continuously show bad fight IQ or the same deficiencies like a guy like Nardiev, that's really not something I like to see. But good job by Sean Brady. I mean, his last fight he won with striking. This fight he wins with wrestling. He's showing he can mix it up. He beat a old vet. Now he beat a young rising guy like himself. And I'm sure in his next fight he's going to be getting a guy maybe at the fringe, close to the top 15 or in the top 15, and we'll see what he can do there. But good win by Sean Brady. Up next here, Spike Carlisle, Alon Cruz. This was one of the fights that I got incorrect on the card, and yeah, man, Spike Carlisle, I didn't have a lot of tape on him, and I knew that he was explosive, dangerous, and he went in there and he got it done really quick in the first round. Landed a head kick, rocked Cruz, some nice elbows, and took him out early, and it seemed like he was really in the moment, in the element. He was a little bit of a weird guy, but it seemed like Cruz definitely had more of the jitters. He seemed a little nervous off the gate, and Spike capitalized on that. And yeah, I mean, it's 2 newcomers, so it's not really much you can read off of here, but we'll see what's going to happen with both guys, because Spike, now that's a big finish. He kind of is an entertaining, maybe marketable guy, so I don't know if the UFC is going to try to get behind him. And for Alon Cruz, I'm sure he'll be back, but first time he got knocked out pretty badly, so that was not a good loss. I mean, he wasn't knocked out cold, but he got hurt really bad. And yeah, so good job there by Spike Carlisle. I know some people were saying they thought those elbows were maybe illegal from Spike, but yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. I think they said they're going to file a a dispute or a grievance or whatever with the commission, but yeah, I mean, I feel like that's not going to get overturned. I think Spike's going to keep the win, and we'll see where both of them go from here. And next year, man, another fight that I got incorrect, TJ Brown, Jordan Griffin. This one kind of pissed me off, man, because TJ Brown was dominating the whole fight. He was chain wrestling real well, taking him down, landing some shots on the feet, controlling, landing elbows, really just absolutely dominating Jordan Griffin. And I even said this on my video when he fought Derek Minner, that he has some dangerous transitions where he has some real funky jiu-jitsu. Like in the Minner fight, you transition from the leg lock to the armbar, got that armbar real quick. In this fight, he was able to get a guillotine from the bottom in side control. So, real odd guillotine setup that he must have had there. And he said he called it the black belt killer because obviously, when you get caught in a guillotine, you're taught, to get to side control, try to loosen up the pressure. And yeah, I mean, Griffin had it locked in where once it got to side control, it was basically checkmate for TJ Brown, and he went out cold. So, yeah, I mean, that's what it is. That's the fight game, man. He's winning the whole time, and then he gets choked out and loses the fight. So, I'm sure TJ Brown will be back. He had a pretty good performance, but still, man, I mean, it's not good to lose like that, especially when you're dominating. Finding a way to lose is not good. He has a lot of losses on his record, and we'll see how he's going to bounce back from that. But, it isn't, you can't really say it was a bad performance by him. I think he just, like I said, when he got caught in the guillotine, he thought he would be safe going to side control, and he wasn't. And he paid for it and went to sleep. And Jordan Griffin, man, I mean, I can't say I was impressed with that performance because he basically got dominated for 8 minutes and then pulled off a guillotine choke. But, yeah, I mean, he showed that he's dangerous and he can finish fights. And I think he was talking about how he might be going up to 55s. Not sure about that. He's getting taken out super easy and controlled at 45. So, we'll see with Jordan Griffin. I'm still not sold on him staying in the UFC for a very long time. And, we'll see what happens. But Jordan Griffin did pick up the win there. And Luis Pena, Steve Garcia. And unfortunately, this was a fight where I did do kind of a different type of video where I showed a lot of footage and clips. And I'm kind of disappointed I didn't get to put that out because I was showing the exact position where Steve Garcia was giving his back up against the cage in multiple fights on the Contender Series, in his most recent fight in LFA, in fights back in the day as well. And Luis Pena did exactly what I thought he would do besides the first round submission, which is take his back and control him. And I was kind of disappointed that Pena couldn't get the submission because he really probably should have been able to. Steve Garcia was punching, attacking from his back, or from being controlled on the back, and that's not something you really want to do. I mean, that gives up openings. And Pena, I didn't seem like he was too desperate to get that finish. It seemed like he wanted to get the win. He wanted to finish it out. And Steve Garcia showed toughness, and in that third round he did have that triangle locked in. It looked pretty close, but overall really was a pretty dominant performance by Pena. He probably spent over 10 minutes in the back mount, and yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Pena went in there and he did what he had to do to get it done, and I'm sure Steve Garcia will be back. He's going to probably drop down to 45, and Luis Pena still trying to find that consistency in the UFC, but does have a pretty big name. I mean, he had a good story there where he just met his biological brother for the first time, I believe that week, and he's also just met his father as well, so he's kind of rekindling a relationship with his family, and he's an interesting guy, the way that he looks, the way that he fights, so he's marketable for sure, but, I'm not sure if he kind of needs to be built up slow still, in my opinion, but good win there by Luis Pena. And then Tybura, he took on Sergey Spivak, and Tybura, good on him, he went to a new camp, he moved all the way to the U.S., out of his comfort zone, to Las Vegas, Syndicate MMA, and had a good result here. He had his back up against the wall and really kind of dominated Spivak. He was able to land some shots on the feet himself. Spivak was landing shots. It was competitive striking, but Tybura had a good game plan where he out-grappled him. He looked much, much bigger than Spivak, and when he put Spivak on his back, Spivak had no answers to get up. He wasn't attacking the submissions, and Tybura was able to control the position against the cage, control him on the mat, and really win the decision that way by mixing it up. But, his striking didn't look terrible either. It's still, I don't like the way he backs up in straight lines. He's very hittable. You saw that in the Spivak fight. And a guy with more power definitely is going to exploit that. But Tybura, he's a skilled guy. He's a black belt. He throws high kicks. He can take you down. So, for a heavyweight, he's a guy that can, be a player if he can get his confidence back, improve that defense just a little bit. And he did improve his cardio. That's something that I want to give him props for, because he has been gassing very quickly, like even in the first round in previous fights. In this fight, went 3 rounds pretty hard and was able to keep a pace. So good job by Marcin, got the win there. And Sergey, he's now 1-2 in the UFC. We're going to see. He's probably going to get one more chance, and if he loses that one, he'll probably be out. But let's see if Sergey could stick around or if he's going to get the snip. But we'll see. Spivak, not really impressed with that performance from him. Brendan Allen, Tom Breeze, man, I was way off on this one. I thought Tom Breeze was going to go in there and look good, but man, Brendan Allen went in there, took him down, dominated him on the ground. I thought it maybe could have been, they could have let it go and it didn't have to be stopped that early, but Brendan Allen put it on him, destroyed him, and not really much to say there, man. Brendan Allen looked good, and he's looking good in the UFC. He's 2-0, 2 finishes now over 2 guys that were pretty established, and he's still young. He's like 24, 25 years old, I believe. So, he wants to fight Trevin Giles, he wants to fight Eric Anders, these guys that he's already lost to. But to me, he's kind of already passed those guys by, and we'll see what happens. He's a guy that looks like he could be a player there in that division. And for Tom Breeze, man, I don't know. He always had those problems with anxiety and not being able to go out there, and it seemed like he was rusty right from the beginning. He didn't do anything in that fight. He did, I believe he attacked with a leg lock, or he had a couple submission attempts, but nothing really close, and just looked lackadaisical and got dominated, and not much to say. Tom Breeze needs to put up in his next fight, or I believe he's going to be cut, so it is what it is with Tom Breeze. He needs to perform in his next fight. Up next here, Kyler Phillips taking on Gabriel Silva. And man, I had quite a few people give me a lot of shit for this pick here, picking Kyler Phillips. KCOH, he's my boy. KCOH Quick Picks. If you haven't heard of his channel, go check it out. He's another predictor. But man, he was calling Kyler Kylie. he was shitting on Kyler a little bit. But Kyler looked really good this fight. At least from what I saw, I thought his striking was super dynamic, man, super clean. He was striking really fast. He was diverse and very, very clean. Like I said, he was pinging Gabriel Silva, and even in the grappling realm, he was like 2-3 steps ahead of Silva and just absolutely dominated him. So great job by Kyler Phillips. To me, that was a dominating performance. He showed that he could be a player potentially in that division for sure, because I was very, very impressed by Kyler Phillips there. Gabriel Silva, he's 0-2 now in the UFC, but that's 2 pretty high-level guys that he's faced. I think that he definitely deserves another chance here to try to get a win, and I think that he's decent. I still don't think he's a bad fighter. He just got outclassed here by Kyler Phillips, who put on, an absolute clinic here. So Kyler Phillips, he looks really good, really, really good. Intrigued to see who he fights next, and I'm still not done with Gabriel Silva. I could pick him in future fights also, who knows. But I haven't picked him in either of his UFC fights. He hasn't come through, so I'm 2 for 2 on predicting Gabriel Silva fights so far. But I still don't think he's like an automatic fade. He could beat some guys in the UFC for sure. Up next, Grant Dawson, Derek Minner. This fight was kind of, what everyone thought. Derek Minner came out hot, had a couple guillotines that looked pretty close, landed some big punches, but Grant Dawson weathered the storm, started grinding him out, and eventually tapped him out and finished him. And, Minner tapped out really quick, so kind of gave up. And, man, I really wish he didn't do that, because Grant Dawson was talking all week how he folds, how he doesn't belong in the UFC. And, man, he kind of validated everything Grant Dawson said there in terms of, folding. I don't want to say he doesn't belong in the UFC, because who am I to say that? He could go out there and win some fights in the UFC. But, very quick tap there. And he was just exhausted. Grant Dawson did miss weight. Minner did come in there on short notice, made weight. So he was the more professional one of the two. And he actually, I wouldn't say he performed terribly, but he did get finished, and he almost got finished in the first round as well. So, Grant Dawson did show that he was able to outclass him, and Dawson said it was just a little bit of a mishap on the way. He's going to come back and fight at 145s again, so we'll see if that is a continual issue or if that's kind of a one-time thing. And so we'll see how Grant Dawson looks in future fights, because he looked really dominating here, but it wasn't against a guy that was necessarily super high level. I believe he called out Darren Elkins, which, that's a nice fight, because Elkins is not necessarily the top of the heap of the division, but he's a guy that's still very viable, I believe. He did get dominated by Darren Elkins in his last fight, or by Ryan Hall, I'm sorry. But, he's still a guy with a name, and for a guy like Grant Dawson, that's a good fight to have. He's not punching up too high, and he could definitely win that fight. So Grant Dawson looks like he could potentially move up the rankings here if he could keep at 145, and he's just a dominating grappler there. But up next, Megan Anderson, Norma Dumont. Megan, she looked like she was struggling a little bit early with the grappling, but she did stop the takedowns, and I don't think she was looking as bad as some people are saying. She was being controlled a little bit, but Norma really wasn't doing much, and when they separated right away, Megan landed that right cross, knocked her out cold. Not knocked her out cold, but dropped her, straight on her butt. And I thought it maybe was a little bit of an early stoppage, just a little bit. I mean, next fight I talk about early stoppages, but this one maybe was a little bit early, but Norma looked out of it a little bit, and I think that she just would have taken more damage. So Megan showed one punch power, man. I mean, that was pretty brutal. That was, Amanda Nunes type power where she starched a girl, but we don't really know much about Norma Dumont, so maybe she just has a terrible chin. Who knows, but Megan, she looked like a beast on this night, at least with that one shot, and called for the title fight. But I believe, someone coming up on the card, Felicia Spencer, deserves that over her. But, Megan has pulled together back-to-back wins in the UFC. I believe she's won 3 out of 4 overall, so kind of finding her footing now, and she's, someone that was a prospect coming in. So it's good to see her, maybe finally starting to reach somewhat of her potential, but she still needs to show me some more things, moving forward. And for Norma, it's still kind of iffy with her. She showed some good things, the ability to control against the cage, that type of thing. She landed some punches, but, she did get knocked out, and that was her first step up competition. So, I wouldn't mind seeing her fight like Zara Fair in the next fight, even though Zara, and if she can go out there and dominate Zara, that'll show that she could stay in the UFC. If they have a competitive fight, maybe you can get rid of both of them. But up next here, Ankalaev, Jan Cutelaba. This is a fight that a lot of people had issues with, because Jan, after watching the footage, at first I did think, and I still think maybe with the one left hook, he maybe could have hurt Cutelaba a little bit, but I do think Cutelaba was kind of acting on that. He wasn't hurt, he was trying to bait him in, but it was still a dumb strategy. Why are you doing that in the first 30 seconds of the fight? It's not a smart thing. It just shows that you don't trust your ability to technically fight with this guy, so you're going to try to, deviate some strategy where you're going to be faking your rock so he comes in and you can knock him out. And he was showing some good defense, but he only landed one punch in the fight from what I saw. And if they want to run this fight back, I really wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Obviously, it was a terrible stoppage by Kevin McDonald. He made a big mistake there, but Jan also, he that wasn't a great move to do that, in my opinion. You could, fake that you rocked, but you can't fake that you rocked for 25 seconds and you're looking away from your opponent. You're doing things like that. So, I see maybe why a ref would stop it, even though it's still a horrendous stoppage. Probably one of the worst stoppages ever, but it was still like he faked his way into a loss, man. It is what it is. That's what happened. And Magomed now has won 4 in a row. I believe he has the longest winning streak, or tied for the longest winning streak at light heavyweight with John Jones. So, you could say what you want about that win. Maybe they'll run it back, but, Magomed got the win on paper, and it is what it is. He got the win. He got it over him. It's not really much you could say about this fight. Nothing really happened. I believe Magomed landed a left hook. He landed, he didn't land the high kicks, but Jan blocked him, and he took some impact, and that was really it. Jan landed one punch too, I believe, and, I was stopped in like 40 seconds. So, Up next, Felicia Spencer, Zara Farron, and yeah, not going to speak a ton on this one, but Felicia Spencer seemed like she was struggling with the range a little bit early on, but took her down, mounted her, just beat her up, dominated her, smashed her with elbows, and Felicia's looking good, man. I mean, she last 5-round Cyborg, showed extreme durability, and her grappling is good. I'm not sure if she can handle, someone with like Nunes, but we're gonna have to see, if she can get Nunes down. Maybe she could do some things there. We'll see what happens. But a good job there by Felicia Spencer. She got Zara out of there, and yeah, I mean, not much to say about Zara, man. She's 6-4 now, looks pretty bad, and I don't think she's UFC level, but it is the women's 145 division, so it is what it is there. And up next, Deiveson Figueiredo, Joseph Benavidez. Deiveson Figueiredo went out there and got the knockout, but Joe B, I didn't like his game plan in this fight, man. I mean, we've seen the deficiencies with Deiveson Figueiredo where he'll jump, he'll leap in, leap out. And Joe Benavidez was just brawling with this guy. He wasn't feinting. He wasn't trying to, chain wrestle. He wasn't trying to back up to the cage and shoot and force him to grind. He was just brawling with him, and he was having success. I thought he was actually winning the fight, but it did look like whenever he was landing, Deiveson was taking the shots much easier. And when Benavidez was getting hit, he was feeling it a lot. So, also in the first round, Deiveson had a pretty deep armbar that Benavidez escaped out of. And, so that was a big moment in the fight also. And the big moments definitely were from Deiveson, but he was pot-shotting. He was kind of just trying to land that straight right hand over and over. And Benavidez was darting in. He was landing some shots. He was landing to the body. He was landing the more punches. And he was definitely out-voluming him and outworking him. He was backing him up. And it looked like Deiveson was getting tired as well, man. But, shit. I mean, he landed the right cross because Joe B was just being super reckless and knocked him down and finished him with the ground and pound. And you got to feel bad for Joe B, man. I mean, that's the third time that he's lost in a title fight in the UFC. And yeah, I mean, it sucks. You could tell after the fight, he said he was living in a nightmare. He was so disappointed, and man, I mean, Deiveson didn't even make weight for the fight. I haven't even talked about that, so the flyweight belt is still vacant. I love flyweight, man. I mean, they always bring it. Even that fight was an awesome fight. I mean, that was a great fight. They both brought the action. Deiveson knocked him out, and the flyweights always bring that action, man. It's always a great fight when they're in the octagon. So, I'd be disappointed to see them take away that division, but man, I mean, Deiveson kind of gave him an easy out if they want to do it. So we're gonna see what happens there, but it's tough for Joe B, man. I mean, I think he's 35, and yeah, I mean, that's probably his last shot unless they're gonna give him a rematch here because Deiveson missed weight, and they're gonna say, we're gonna give you a rematch where Deiveson is gonna make weight and you guys are gonna fight for the title again. But kind of doubt that is gonna happen. I believe they're gonna probably go at maybe a different direction and have Deiveson fight someone else, or who knows, because like I said, they've been trying to get rid of that division, it seems, for a long time. But yeah, so Deiveson Figueiredo went up there and knocked out Joe Benavidez, and man, I mean, he has quite a resume now at flyweight. He does have that one loss to Jussier Formiga, but 18 wins. He's beaten some guys like John Moraga, Joseph Benavidez, who are UFC title challengers. He's taken them out, knocked them out. So yeah, I mean, Deiveson Figueiredo's the real deal. He's beaten guys like Pantoja as well. High-level guys that he's taken out. So you can't take anything away from Deiveson Figueiredo besides that he has to dial in that weight issue for his next fight. That was the first time he missed. So, you can't say, like, go up to 135. I don't know. It's tough because he always struggles to make the weight. Now he missed it for a title fight. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a good look at all. It really isn't. But I would let him try to make it one more time and give him another title fight and see what happens. See if he can, win again and actually win the belt this time. But, yeah, I mean, Deiveson Figueiredo, he still did go in there and knocked out Joe Benavidez, so you have to give him credit for that. And, yeah, overall, it was a pretty solid card. It was a lot of finishes, a lot of knockouts, a lot of pretty good submissions. So the fights are really good on this card. It wasn't really a lot of, name recognition. The card wasn't really hyped up that much, but the fights did, come through. They were really fun fights, so good card there. And now we're going to be moving on here to UFC 248, but before we do, make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Put down in the comments who you think's going to win. And as you watch the video, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of my breakdowns. Tell me if you think I'm way off, if you agree with all my picks. And, yeah, so this card's going to be really good. I know a lot of people are going to have a lot of opinions on these fights, and we're going to see what happens, because I believe, the 2 title fights, obviously, like the last time we had 2 title fights were John Jones and Valentina, those fights weren't really that close. These 2 title fights, there's a very likely possibility that either person could win in both fights. So there's a lot more intrigue, in my opinion, on the title fights in this card. And, after the title fights, it is a little bit, there's not as many fights there, but there's still some good names, some fun up-and-comers, and it's a very good card. So, I'm excited to get into it. I'm actually going to the card. So if anyone's going to be in, Las Vegas this week, hit me up. We could, meet up. And I'm definitely going to be going to that Tony Ferguson Khabib interview. That's going to be, or the interview, the Tony Ferguson Khabib press conference. That's going to be awesome. So everything's starting to shape up for the UFC coming down. And the first fight here, we have Deron Winn versus Meerschaert. So, Deron Winn, he did suffer the first loss of his career in his last fight. Everyone kind of knows about him, Mini DC. He trains out there at AKA. He's a big-time wrestler, college wrestler. He tried to make the U.S. Olympic team, and, that's kind of, his strong suit. But in the UFC and MMA, he's been more kind of a striker. And obviously, he's 5'6". He's one of the shortest middleweights of all time, and missed weight in his last fight. So that's something that I don't really like. Also, I was listening to his interview this morning on Ariel Helwani, and he was talking about losing a lot in the interview, which I didn't like hearing him say the word lose so much in an interview. And he wouldn't tell Ariel Helwani his weight, and he did miss weight for his last fight. So yeah, I don't know. There were some things I didn't really like from the interview. There was some things that I liked in terms of him talking about he became much more dedicated after the loss. That loss kind of put some fire under him. But if he misses weight again, if he doesn't look in great shape, that's not going to be a good sign for me. But he, like I said, on the feet, he's explosive, he's powerful, and he's pretty light on his feet. He's hard to hit. He'll walk opponents down. He'll, feint jab, use those level changes, and he kind of freezes guys because you definitely have to respect the level change. You'll come over the top of the right hook with the uppercut, double jab. And, when he lands a combination and he'll back you up, that's kind of where he'll flurry with hook straights, body head. And he's good at, touching with the jab and then, finishing with straights and, keeping the volume high. And he was able to do that against Eric Spicely. He was kind of putting long combinations together. But the thing about that is Spicely was literally just shelling up, standing in one spot. So it wasn't hard for Winn to do that, because Spicely was just trying to, cover up and land one counter, which wasn't a really good strategy. But, Winn is pretty good at slipping and returning in the pocket. His pull counter on his right hand is decent. He doesn't really throw many kicks, but he will throw occasional leg kicks. I have seen him try to throw some head kicks. Obviously, at 5'6", it's going to be hard to head kick a guy like Gerald Meerschaert, but maybe he could do it. And he will get wild. He'll close the dish with some big hooks, overhands, kind of can get off balance. He can get countered because of that. He does tend to stand right in front of opponents too. And when he throws these long combinations and fighters are able to, start to time what he's doing, where he's jab, jabbing, kind of like the way Maki Pitolo fights. If you do that long enough, then someone can come back with a big counter. And, when he fought Spicely, he didn't really show that big one-shot power because he, I believe, landed the most shots in the history of the division and couldn't take him out of there. But he does have 4 KO TKOs, and he has gone to back-to-back decisions. So after taking that step up in competition, his power kind of hasn't been there as much. But he showed he could take it, and he had a good chin in his last match. Definitely took some big shots from Darren Stewart, who's a hard hitter. And in terms of his grappling, he has some of the better wrestling credentials in the entire sport. U.S. national team member, 2-time NCAA junior college national champion. He was a 3-time All-American. And he actually defeated Jaden Cox in college, who's one of the best wrestlers in the history of the U.S. And he did show where his size could maybe cause him issues in the grappling realm with Darren Stewart and Eric Spicely. He was able to get some takedowns against Darren Stewart, but couldn't hold him down. And against Eric Spicely, he did show some deficiencies in the clinch in terms of he got hit with some big shots in the Muay Thai plum. And, he wasn't comfortable enough taking Spice Lee down, who's a jiu-jitsu black belt. He respected his jiu-jitsu, so I'm not 100% sure he's gonna, want to take down Gerald Meerschaert either. So that's gonna be something to look into here, because if he doesn't want to take down Gerald Meerschaert and it's a stand-up fight, then that takes away half of his skill set. But Wynn sets up his double legs with overhands very well. He can slam opponents. He has some pretty good throws, trips, but his top control is not very good. I mean, and he did show that he could get out of a guillotine against Tom Lawler, but he wasn't able to hold Darren Stewart down. Darren Stewart was able to set up some triangles that looked decently close, and I do feel like if he takes down Gerald, he maybe will get submitted or swept. If Wynn gets taken down himself and he gets put on his back, I think that he could be in some pretty big trouble. So definitely doesn't want to be on his back here in that fight. And Wynn can get a little tired in round 3. I mean, he is still raw. This is a big fight for him. It's almost a must-win against a guy like Gerald Meerschaert, who's lost 3 out of 4. But Gerald Meerschaert, he was on the wrong end of some controversial decisions. Yet again, he had another controversial decision in his last fight with Eric Anders. He started off really slow in that fight, but he was able to pick it up in the second and the third round. And I believe he won the fight, but they gave him the loss. And two of his last 3 losses were controversial decisions. So he could easily be on a 3-fight winning streak right now. And he is the veteran here, trying to hold his position really as kind of a middle tier guy, top 25, top 30. And there's been a lot of talk in the build up. Meerschaert seems to be taking this fight personally. Says he's going to knock out Deron Wynn. And he really seems to not like Deron Wynn. So I don't know if that's going to be a positive or negative, but Gerald is going to come in here with that heat probably. And on the feet, he isn't the best, but he has some dangerous weapons, really nasty kicks, body kicks, head kicks. And in this fight, his body kicks and boxing need to be on point. In his last match, he did show some improved boxing, I would say, because he wasn't overextending as much, and he did rely a lot on the jab. He does have a strong jab, and against a small, short opponent, I would use it here early and often, and I would use a lot of jabs, low, and attack the body, attack low and body or the legs and body with kicks as well, and try to slow down the forward pressure of Wynn, try to get him tired. I don't really believe Meerschaert has any problem being on his back, so he doesn't really have to worry about getting taken down off the kicks. And he has a pretty nice straight and overhand right, and his left hook did hurt Eric Anders a couple times in that fight. He was doing a good job of catching Anders with it as he tried to angle and exit off, but when Meerschaert could back his opponent towards the cage, he will let go with longer combos, body head. He is good at attacking the body in fights, and he will mix in some nasty knees, elbows, and he gets most of his finishes standing when his opponent's backs are against the cage, and he could work knees, elbows in that clinch game. But his flaws defensively are very evident. He isn't the fastest fighter. He doesn't have good footwork. He leans back a lot to avoid punches. Doesn't really move his feet. Very hittable. He did get dropped versus Anders. Heavy on his lead leg as well, so can be low kicked. But he's a durable guy, and when he gets dropped, he always has the jiu-jitsu in his back pocket. Only been finished 1 time by strikes in his career, and he does have 6 KO TKOs. And he is a crafty veteran. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's very good at baiting opponents into fighting his style of fights. I mean, he'll give no resistance on takedowns, kind of flops to his back when he's hurt. He's always inviting you to get on top of him, so, it's kind of hard to not do that. And then once you do it, then he'll sweep you, he'll take top position, and he'll end the fight. And he has good single leg takedowns, good job of timing singles when opponents throw kicks, decent body locks, and he's very physical in the clinch. Good control, nice short knees, elbows. He'll chain wrestle there, and good body locks to doubles, to singles, pretty fluid. And I believe that the clinch is somewhere where he needs to thrive in this fight if he is going to win. On top, he has strong ground and pound, very good guard passing ability, very heavy on top, and very opportunistic with chokes. A lot of different chokes he can pull off. He's gotten a guillotine, arm triangle, anaconda, rear naked choke. And he has 22 submissions and 30 wins. He has been susceptible to the submission over his career as well. He's been submitted 8 times. So he's one of those guys that, prefers submission over position. And when he could sometimes not get the submission, he'll get tired, or he'll put himself in a vulnerable position and get submitted himself. But 7 of those were previous to 2013, so hasn't been submitted very much in recent years. In this matchup, I highly doubt he's going to get submitted here. I don't think really there's much chance of that at all. But Meerschaert, he knows how to fight all 3 rounds. He has way more experience, and he has some crafty tricks, and this is a really interesting fight because I think it's going to be a striking match. I don't see Win being comfortable being on the mat with Gerald, and I don't think Gerald's going to be able to take him down. So I see him trying to use his boxing like he did versus Spicely, Deron Win. And if I was Gerald, I would use the jab all day. Work the jab, move, body head, kick, constantly pick at Win, make him reset. Win likes to throw those big winged shots that take longer to throw. So if he could force him to reset, touch his body, he'll likely get Win tired, and Win needs to, back Gerald up with the jab, try to flurry those hooks, overhands, try to catch Gerald when he's leaning back, knock him out, and he needs to start fast because Gerald is a slow starter, and Win can't stay in the pocket, and he's very hittable himself, though, so he has to be wary for those tighter hooks of Gerald, but Gerald could be low volume, and I feel like even if he's landed those short, tight shots, if Win is able to eat them and throw loopers that look harder, maybe he'll be able to steal that decision on the judges. So Gerald needs to step up the volume a little bit here, and I'm going to pick Meerschaert here. I think he's going to clip Win with one of those short shots as he's in the pocket, close to the distance, and I don't see Win wanting to take him down. I think that Win's going to get very aggressive here, and I think he's going to get clipped and hurt. So my pick's going to be Gerald Meerschaert via TKO. Not a confident pick, but the pick's going to be Gerald Meerschaert. And up next, we have a fun fight. Jamal Emmers taking on Giga Chikadze. And it was originally supposed to be Mavzar taking on Jamal Emmers on short notice. And full disclosure, I was actually going to pick Jamal Emmers and bet Jamal Emmers. So, a little unfortunate that Mavzar pulled out there. But it is, good that Jamal gets to stay on the card because I do think that he's a good fighter. And Giga was originally supposed to fight Mike Davis, I believe, on the Norfolk card or maybe on this card as well. So Giga has been traded also, so he should be in shape. And, he's also an entertaining guy. But Jamal Emmers, he is taking the short notice opportunity here. I believe he only had like 3 weeks. But, this is a completely different matchup for Emmers than he originally signed up for at Mavzar Evloev. He has got from basically a pure grappler to a pure striker, and he's fresh off winning at a LFA main event. He has won 4 consecutive fights. He's long been, a high-level prospect on the regional scene. He's had some high-level wins. He's defeated guys like Chris Avila, who's fought in the UFC, Corey Sandhagen, who's a title contender in the UFC, Alexander Hernandez, who's a guy fighting Islam Makhachev coming up, and he's a top 15 fighter at 155 pounds. And Jay Cusinello, or Cusinello, I don't know, I'm killing that guy's name, but he was on Tough. He competed in the UFC as well, I believe, on the Tough finale, but that was his only UFC fight. And he has some wins over some high-level regional scene guys, even like Kyle Machado, like Rafael Barbosa. He did falter on the Dana White Contender Series to Julian Erosa, which is a very bad loss, and delayed his UFC debut, but he's bounced back here and is looking a lot better, So Emmers, he's very fast, he's athletic, he has some great movement, man. He likes to stalk his opponents, great fakes, feints, and he's lightning, man. He makes it hard for opponents to know when he's coming due to all of his feints. He's able to control distance very well, great head movement. He's good at just sliding out of the way of punches and kicks. He has a very educated right hand. His straight right hand comes with zero tell, extremely straight, extremely sharp. He will slip and rip with that shot, very effective. Emmers will throw some nice jab, 1-2s. He will constantly pick and pull, pressure, walk fighters down. He's good at mixing in uppercuts, overhands, hooks, but he mainly uses his jabs, his straights. Very excellent low kicks. He will also throw some spinning kicks, and he can get in trouble at times as he throws them without setting them up. He can drop his hands a little bit as he throws punches. And he can also get countered as he exits sometimes because he can't exit straight backwards. He will float his chin and get clipped clean sometimes, but definitely is much better when he's going forward. And his footwork is very good, but he needs to improve exiting with an angle after he lands punches. Emmers, he's been getting more and more confident with his striking, though, and he's won 3 of his last 4 wins by TKO. His last fight, where you're to submission, he also set that up by beating up his opponent standing. And he keeps a deliberate pace on opponents. He walks them down and he breaks them. Great cardio. He does have a bit of a weak chin. He has been finished by strikes twice in his career. And that is a little bit of a nerve-wracking thing if you're on Emmers' side here, especially with the bet, because Giga is a high-level kickboxer. But Jamal Emmers, he's a strong grappler, which makes this fight very interesting. He's been training with Darion Caldwell for a long time. He's a very good and elite wrestler, and I'm sure he's been training a lot of wrestling in anticipation for fighting Movsar, so he is probably going to be sharp with his wrestling as well. And he's a former college wrestler. He's just very slippery, explosive, excellent at using his strikes to set up entries into the double legs, into the body locks. Very good at getting inside as well, pushing opponents to the fence, controlling, winning that way. And I definitely see the game plan in this matchup being to take Giga down. Emmers, he was able to defeat Corey Sandhagen with kind of a grappling type game plan. And in top position, Emmers, he's more about control and bracing the grind. He will land some short shots, drain the clock, and kind of try to stay connected, hit mat returns. And in his last match, he did hit a very slick transition to an arm triangle and choked his opponent unconscious. So that was a very nice thing to see there. He is getting a little bit more diverse with his jiu-jitsu. But I haven't seen Emmers really get shot in on much in fights. But the few times I have seen him get taken down or have to create a scramble, he's like a cat. He's one of those guys who will get taken down but will immediately scramble back up. And I feel his takedown defense and get-up games are probably top-notch. He seems to be entering his prime right now. He has a lot of confidence. And he only has 3 submissions in his career, and he has been submitted 1 time, but excellent cardio. He's a supreme athlete, well-rounded skill set, and the only issue he's had with his defense a little bit is chin. So if he can improve how he exits, I think he's going to be a very high-level fighter. But for Giga Chikadze, he's a switch stance guy. He is a former Glory kickboxer, a pretty elite kickboxer at that, and he likes to walk fighters down, stays light on his feet, good pull counters, and he's usually at southpaw. Good jab, good 1-2, good kicks, and he really has a nice pull counter straight and left hook. But he isn't a really overly punch-heavy guy. He doesn't really throw many punch combos. He's very kick-heavy. Nasty front-end round kicks, body head. He'll throw counter front knees, flying knees, question mark kicks, axe kicks, spinning kicks. I mean, he has all the kicks in the arsenal. Rolling thunders. His left kick is really a hammer. I mean, he's finished multiple opponents with that kick. In his fight with Austin Springer, though, he wasn't setting that kick up well at all. He got taken down off of it over and over. And I'm not sure Chikadze could be effective with that kick-happy style and poor takedown defense. He was even getting taken down and out-grappled a little bit by Brandon Davis. I mean, he did sweep Brandon Davis. And I mean, Brandon Davis, man, that was embarrassing. But his defense is very good. Gig on the feet. He's good at slipping and ripping. You don't want to be super aggressive against this guy because he will make you pay. And he has 5 KOs. He has been finished a couple times in kickboxing, but his chin is pretty strong. As far as being a grappler, I would say he's not a strong grappler, but he, was getting double-legged versus Brandon Davis, who's not a good wrestler. He allowed Davis to move to mount to dominant positions, but he did sweep him. He landed some decent ground and pound. He even took Davis down, and he was able to omoplata, use the omoplata or threatened it to stand up against Austin Springer. But yeah, on the ground, I still think he has a lot of deficiencies. I don't think he's very good at all. I mean, we saw Austin Springer control him to victory, and this should be an easy win for Emmers. I mean, Giga could catch him, yes, but if Emmers takes him down, he should be able to do it at will, and I think he's way better on the mat. I could see him get an arm triangle or finish it with punches from the top, but my picks could be Emmers from inside the distance, and, I think if he comes in here, he fights smart, and, just does the game plan that Movsar was going to do. Movsar was going to try to come in and take him down and control him, so just do that same game plan to Giga. Take him down and control him. So, Emmers, he should get the win there. And up next, we have a 35-pound fight. This fight's okay. Guido Canetti, Dana Batgeral, 2 of the older guys, I would say, at bantamweight. Obviously, Guido Canetti, that fool is 40, so he's one of the oldest bantamweights ever. And for Dana Batgeral, he did suffer defeat in his UFC debut, but it was a fun back-and-forth war. It was a fun fight. And, he's looked pretty good. He's been training at Jackson Link for this camp. He's trying to get better everywhere and is still, improving. Whereas Guido Canetti, I'm not sure he's improving anymore, but Batgeral is kind of learning on the job. He fought a lot of very low-level competition and still needs to gain experience. He did fight Kai Kara France, but Kai Kara was only 3-2 in his career when they fought, and he began his career 4-1, but he took 3 years off, and after his first loss, he did return in 2018. He picked up 2 wins, got that UFC call, and lost in his debut. But he's a very technical striker. He can be low output, but he feints his way in very well. Very good blitzes. Nice jab, left hook, straight and overhand right. Comes very fast, very clean. He'll use that straight right to start most of his combinations, really. He'll throw that straight right into an uppercut, left hook, right hook combo. He'll sometimes end the combinations with a high kick or a knee to the body. Very nice front kicks up the middle, spinning attacks, flying knees. He's a dynamic guy for sure. He's very fast. He can close the distance with some powerful combos. He keeps the pace high, and he tends to start a little slow, but as the fight goes on, he picks it up and starts really picking it up, really, setting a high pace. And he sticks in the pocket. He's good at, blocking and returning. He has big counters. And he can get clipped entering distance sometimes as he blitzes in. He does hold his hands low. And he is very dangerous, though. So if Kennedy could catch him as he's leaping in, maybe he could take him out. But, Batgeral has 3 knockouts himself. And, he's an explosive, dangerous fighter. And he's not a very active grappler. But he does have a grappling in his back pocket. I believe that he has some Mongolian grappling credentials. And, he did hit a double leg late in round 2 of his last fight, and he showed some very good balance, good takedown defense. He was able to defend the single leg. He even threw a flying knee, some elbows, punches, attacking while his opponent was attacking with the takedown attempt. But he did get taken down because of that, and he did show the ability to stand back up, but, he was taken back down again with the body lock controlled. He was throwing some elbows, punches off his back, but, wasn't able to stand back up after he was put back down again. And he does have 1 career submission. He's never been subbed. So I believe that his grappling is going to be a lot higher level than Guido Cannetti. And I think that if he's seen Guido Cannetti and how he fights, forcing him to grapple a little bit will be the smart thing to do. But both of, Dana's losses have came on the scorecards. He tends to fight pretty close. Even his last fight, it was 1-1 going in the 3rd round. And Guido Cannetti, he will be making his first start of 2020. He did sit out the entire year in 2019. I'm not really sure why, but at 40 years old, his career is definitely dwindling here. And he's actually had some decent performances in 2018. He came back. He was able to push Kung Ho Kang and Marlon Vera, really. I mean, he hurt both of them before losing. He also defeated Diego Rivas. So that was a decent year for him, but not fighting in 2019 isn't really a good look for me in terms of, I don't know why, and he's a lot older. But he comes up very fast. He's dangerous early, and he looks very quick recently. He does a good job of using in and out footwork, good feints, good fakes, and he's not an easy target to hit. He also has good kicks, good head kicks, front kicks to the body, to the head. Heavy kicks, inside, outside, low kicks, nice left straight. He'll also attack the body with left straight, right hook combos, and he's going to be the faster guy in there, I believe, especially early on. Obviously, as the fight goes on, he slows down, and then Dana may be a faster guy, but, he was attacking with some pretty devastating shots, like spinning hook kicks, in those recent fights. He did a great job of landing the left straight or kicks, and just kept, keeping that distance between him and his opponent, and, kind of pulling them in the shots. He's pretty good at that, and he has a pretty decent uppercut. He'll, stick out a double jab out there. His volume is pretty good, but he can't be too aggressive, and he can get very sloppy. He can run forward, hands down, get clipped, get taken down. He also throws a lot of kicks without setting them up, and, his chin is pretty good, but after round 1, he slows down and becomes very hittable. And, Cannetti can get hurt and look for ways out. He has 3 KO TKOs and 8 wins. And he has only been knocked out 1 time, but he does tend to get hurt and then submitted in most of his losses. But, he isn't a great grappler. He is improving. I wouldn't say he's a bad grappler. He does have a good double leg. He does a decent job of landing some knees in the clinch. He also will throw shots off the break pretty effectively, and good initial takedown defense as well. He will dig underhook, sprawl. He has some heavy hips. If fighters can make him chain wrestle, he's very deficient there though, and he can be taken down. He isn't very good off his back. Doesn't really have much activity, and he just tries to control position, wait for the ref to stand it up. He has been submitted a couple times in the past, and he has tapped very quickly. In his last fight, he did get submitted as well. He did show some resolve. He got out of a pretty deep guillotine, a pretty deep armbar, but he has been submitted 4 times. And I have to go with Dana here. He's tough. He's willing to eat shots, stay calm in the fire. And maybe we'll catch him and hurt him early. But I think more likely Dana lands body shots, punches as Guido comes in, starts slowing him down, forces him to brawl, and then takes him out. So I just feel Batgeral is just better everywhere here. I believe he even can go to the grappling if the striking isn't working out. So my pick's going to be Dana Batgeral to get the win here via finish, most likely. Now next year we have a female fight, Emily Whitmire taking on Polyana Viana. And Emily Whitmire, she is training out of Las Vegas, so this is going to be a home fight for her. And Viana, she has her back up against the wall here. She has 3 consecutive losses. Definitely needs a win here to stick around in the UFC. She did get submitted in her last fight, and she's supposed to be, a world champion in jiu-jitsu, so that wasn't a great look. I mean, I believe Veronica Macedo is also a brown belt or a black belt as well, so she did get submitted by a pretty high-level grappler, but that wasn't, a great thing to get submitted. She's also been out-grappled in, some in recent fights against J.J. Aldridge, against Hannah Cyphers, and, when you look at her record, I mean, she's beaten all girls that no one good. I mean, she's not beaten anyone. She did beat Amanda Ribas, so take that back. I mean, she knocked out Amanda, which is kind of crazy to say that now because that was in 2015. If they matched up again, Amanda would definitely handle her, in my opinion. But, that's the only high-level win she has on her whole resume, really. I mean, besides that, her best win, I guess, would be in her UFC debut against Maya Stevenson, who was, an older girl that fought all cans. I mean, I believe Maya Stevenson has no wins over any girl that has a win in the MMA as a professional. So, that just shows her level of opposition there in Polyana. And Emily, she's definitely fought the higher level girls. She fought a better Amanda Ribas. She's fought, Jillian Robertson, Roxanne Modafferi. She's fought Emily Ducote. She's fought Christina Marks. She's fought, a lot of girls that are, decently high level and, girls that have been established, that have been around. Polly hasn't fought any veterans, She hasn't fought anyone like a Roxanne. And, the way I see this fight really going down is, on the feet, obviously, both these girls are used to being more, the taller, bigger girl in the cage. So it's going to be interesting how they match up because I definitely think Emily is more of the puncher. So Emily's going to want to back up Polly, get her to that near the fence where she could work her jab, where she could kind of pick at her, try to keep her at the end of boxing range and stay long so she could jab the kicks as well. And for Polly, obviously, she's going to be trying to work those kicks and maybe be trying to get it to the ground somehow. But the thing is, I think in terms of the wrestling department, I think Emily is going to be able to out-wrestle her all day. I don't really see her matching up physically with Emily. I think Emily is much physically stronger than Polyana Viana. But, if it does hit the mat and Polly's on top, she's obviously going to have a chance at submitting her. But like we've seen with Hannah Cyphers with J.J. Aldridge, if you could take Polyana Viana down and stay in her guard and stay tight, then you could likely control her and win the round that way. Both of them were able to do that, and both of them are much smaller girls than Emily Whitmire. So I believe Emily Whitmire, if she goes in there and stays tight, stays calm when she gets to top position, she should easily be able to control Polyana as well. So I think it really comes down to just, is Emily going to go in there and have a composed performance where she, on the mat, she stays calm, she doesn't put her hands on the mat, she doesn't do anything stupid to get submitted, and she stays tight, and on the feet, she backs her up. If she's struggling a little bit with the kicks, then takes her down, like I said, and, just mixes it up. It just shows that she's the better fighter than Polyana Viana. Don't be stupid. Don't be trying to go out there and get a quick finish. Don't have an adrenaline dump. Don't be putting yourself in bad positions, and, I believe she should get it done. So my pick's going to be Emily Whitmire to get a decision victory over Polyana Viana here, send Polly to 4 straight losses, and likely get her out of the UFC. So my pick's going to be Emily Whitmire to get the victory. And in this fight, we have the return of the Olympian, Mark Madsen. He's going to be taking on Austin Hubbard. And Marco Madsen, he didn't disappoint in his UFC debut. He, kept the good times rolling. Emphatic first-round finish. He is still undefeated, and he was given a big opportunity there. He co-headlined an event in his home country in his debut, and he hit it out of the park. So, great job there by Marco Madsen, and the UFC's given him another big chance here to showcase on a big pay-per-view card, and this will be the toughest fighter he's yet to fight in Austin Hubbard, but he's a very super athletic, extremely explosive guy, and he showed that off with the ground and pound in his last fight. But Austin Hubbard, he did pick up his first UFC win in his last go-round. He went in there, he defeated Kyle Prepolek. And Hubbard's now 1-1 in the UFC. He does train on an Elevation Fight team. He holds some pretty big regional scene wins. And out of the two fighters, Hubbard, has definitely fought and beaten the better guys. He's a former LFA champion, and he's been there and done that. So he's the underdog, but he does have probably the more experience. But this fight is pretty self-explanatory. It's a striker versus grappler matchup. O Madsen's going to be looking to get it to the mat. Austin Hubbard's looking to knock him out. And Hubbard's probably the better striker. Definitely more polished. He has good fakes, feints. His diversity is definitely bigger. He has a bigger striking arsenal. The issue with Hubbard's style for this fight to me is he really isn't much of a mover. And he doesn't have big power. He tends to stand in front of opponents and kind of try to touch, measure, and just try to pull them into bigger shots. But in this fight, I feel he has to be in constant forward motion behind the jab and attack the body, or use ladder movement, pot shotting, and angling, but he hasn't really showed either of those facets in other fights. But O Madsen, he isn't really a diverse striker, but he's very fast, he's athletic, he's explosive, low center of gravity, and fakes level changes. He cuts the cage off well, closes the distance well, big power in those hooks and overhands, and he comes inside, and, due to that, opponents have to respect the punches, which allow him to get in on the legs or the body lock. And obviously, once O Madsen has a hold of Hubbard, Hubbard's likely going to the mat. Hubbard can be taken down in the clinch with takedown shots as well, and tends to back himself up towards the cage. Davi Ramos, he was able to take him down multiple times, and if Davi Ramos is taking you down, O Madsen's going to easily be able to take you down if he gets in those same positions. And Hubbard, he hasn't really shown much at all off his back. He doesn't have a great get-up game. He hasn't done the greatest first grapplers. He can give his back and get submitted, and he will just try to stall out, control posture, and try to get the ref to stand it up most of the time. In this fight, he needs to quickly work back to his feet, try to keep the pressure high, attack the body, test Mark's cardio. And O Madsen, he does have 3 decision wins, but in all of those, he had long periods of top control, so we haven't seen a fight yet where an opponent forced O Madsen to strike more than he wants to. If Hubbard can deny the takedowns or get back to the feet pretty quickly, then things could get interesting. With O Madsen, he did go in there and smash his last opponent quickly, but that's not usually his thing. O Madsen does have a standing guillotine, but really, he hasn't been very active in top position in previous fights. His control is very good, and he will do enough to stay from getting stood up, but he kind of just lands short shots, likes to get to half guard, and just kind of lay and pray. But he does have 2 ground and pound wins, 3 submissions to go along with the standing KO. And, I got to go with O Madsen here. I think that Hubbard's too stationary. He's not nearly good enough as a wrestler to be that way here. I just think O Madsen's going to be able to get a hold of him, control him against the cage, get him taken down, and win the decision. I don't think Hubbard has the power you need against a guy like O Madsen to knock him out with one punch. Anything's possible. But I don't see Hubbard finishing him, and I don't see him finishing Hubbard. I think it could be kind of a boring fight, and my pick's going to be O Madsen via decision, and I think he's just going to lay on it for 3 rounds. And I'm not sure we're the biggest favorite on the card in Rodolfo Viera taking on Saperbek Safarov. And I got to say, I don't really necessarily agree with the line, but I don't really have much to say here. Saperbek, he's a really tough dude. He throws bombs. He's willing to go to war there, and he's willing to cheat to win. The guy's ruthless. He's going to go in there and try to take Viera's head off, but on the feet, he's very wild. In his last match, he did show a bit more composure and refinedness. He was landing the left hook pretty effectively, and it's going to be interesting to see how Saperbek kind of plays this one, because his usual game is to throw a couple punches, shoot it on the legs, and get the fight to the ground. And in his last fight, he showed some excellent level changes, good ground and pound, and he was landing some vicious elbows and hammer fist. Really destroyed his last opponent, but Safarov's been submitted in the octagon by guys like Tyson Pedro, and even in his match, his last match, he used some egregious fence grabs to not get leg locked. I don't think Saperbek is going to be able to survive in the grappling room with Viera. Viera is one of the best black belts to compete in UFC history, and Saperbek, maybe he'll just try to defend the shots and force off with a brawl. Rodolfo is still green on the feet, but we've never seen Saperbek employ that game plan, and he did hurt John Vellante a couple times, but that was like a wild barroom brawl, and he ultimately was taken out in that fight. And Rodolfo, he doesn't really offer much on the feet. I mean, he will throw some leg kicks, jabs, 1-2s, decent hooks, but mostly throws a couple feints, throws a couple punches to get your respect, and then tries to get the fight to the ground. And he is hittable, and he did get rocked a little bit against a guy, Jacob Tague, on the regional scene with the uppercut with the knee, but eventually got the takedown and finished the fight. He is a rugged guy. He's pretty athletic, and he's very built. He's like a fucking, brick shithouse. So he's going to be hard to knock out, I think. And if he wins, if it hits the mat, I think he wins all day. He probably finishes. So I just can't pick Saberbeg, but I do think the line's kind of crazy. Saberbeg has wrestling and power, so if he can deny the takedowns and land one of those shots on Viera's chin, who knows? But my pick's going to be Viera via submission here. And up next year, we have a pretty fun fight. We have the return of Sean O'Malley, who, he's been struggling with the USADA thing for a couple years now, I believe. I don't know exactly. When was the last time Sean O'Malley actually fought in the cage? About to look that up right here, because it's been a long time. I mean, it's been quite a while. I mean, he hasn't fought since, 2018. So basically 2 years ago was the last time that he fought. And he did compete in Quintet here, as you see. He did get that guillotine over Takanori Gomi. Got straight leg locked against, ankle locked against Hector Lombard. Got the draw against Gilbert Melendez. And I did watch that event, and he actually, his grappling does look improved. So, I believe that's something that he's really pinpointed during this layoff, and I have heard him talk about that as well, in terms of him saying that he believes his jiu-jitsu has taken a huge leap. So, maybe we'll start seeing that in fights, because his striking has already been proven to be dynamic, and I'm sure it's only going to get better. But he's a 135er, he has a 72-inch reach, he's 5'11", so he's a big guy, and he has knockout power, so he's a unique fighter for the division. And a lot of lateral movement, a really good jab. But he could throw the jab from both stances. He's always switching stances. Very fluid, dangerous from both of them. His right hand is money, and that punch has one punch power. He will also land a jab, fake a level change, come over the top of the right hand, and he can knock people out cold. He does a great job of following it up with the head kick. And if his opponents are still standing, he has a nasty pullback counter right hand. He's kind of similar to Conor McGregor. He's deadly accurate. He'll use unique setups for the right hand as well. He'll look away before he throws it. He has a good uppercut from southpaw. Great kicking game. He's very tricky with his kicks. He'll throw a lot of spinning kicks, round kicks, body head, question mark kicks. And when he gets opponents guessing where the kick is going to go, he'll land spinning kicks to the chin and knock fighters out. And he does a good job of throwing head kicks and exploding with the right hand right after. And nasty spinning back fist, high kick. He does have his hands low, and he can get hit at times, but he has great movement. He'll roll with shots, he slips punches, and he tends to slow down in round 2, but he gets kind of a second wind, and the fighters haven't been able to capitalize on him slowing down yet. He also showed a good chin heart against Terrion Ware. He got kind of beat up in round 2 of that fight. He came back strong in round 3. And on the feet, he will have the advantage of this matchup. He's a very fun, dynamic striker to watch. And his grappling is what fighters are going to have to try to exploit. But, we did see him snatch that guillotine against Gomi. He's good in the clinch, actually. Good foot sweeps, body locks. But his takedown defense is a little bit questionable. And I've seen him in an amateur fight quit to baby punches to the back of the head on the ground. And that's kind of something I didn't like to see. He kind of showed a little bit of quit there. But he seems to attack a lot of his back with arm bars, with triangles. And in his fight with Andre Sukumtath, you have to give him credit for not giving up in that fight. I believe he broke his ankle or something happened. He couldn't walk anymore. And he was able to survive on the ground after he got hurt. And he's extremely calm in the cage. It's quite shocking, actually. Amazing fight IQ as well. He's never lost, and he's still extremely confident. He should look to do what he knows, knock this dude out. And he needs to be aware that Quinones will probably want to get in the clinch, get into wrestling range. And he needs to have his movement, his pull counters on point. I believe if he can land a shot on the button on Quinones, I don't think Quinones will be able to take it. So that's something that he has to think about. But, Jose Quinones, he's won for, a lot of fights in the UFC. And he's finally going to get the chance to make his name with a win over, a super prospect in Sean O'Malley. And he's actually a very, technical striker. He has some pretty good footwork. he doesn't really have that usual Mexican style people are used to from Mexican fighters. He actually uses a lot of movement, kicks from the outside, fantastic job of always moving laterally, and he'll never allow his opponent to get his back against the cage. He always angles off to one side or the other, varies it up, and he's very good at that. He's a good boxer, nice jab, good power in his right hand. He will dig the body with punches, nice front kicks to the body, round kicks. He'll throw a head kick, and he really uses his kicks a lot. He tends to stay very risk averse in his fights and try to stay on the outside, win a low output striking battle. His chin is questionable. I mean, he got dropped 2 times by Teruto Ishihara. If Ishihara was hurting him with shots, I have to think O'Malley could do the same. He has been hurt in multiple fights. I mean, Nathaniel Wood hurt him. He needs to be extremely defensively sound on the feet in this fight. I do believe he's a solid striker. If he could find his rhythm, he could give O'Malley some trouble, but he has been TKO'd twice, and Quinones is a well-rounded guy. He can switch it up and go for takedowns, and I believe that's what his game plan is going to be here against O'Malley, because on the feet, he can't give O'Malley space and try to win a distance striking battle. He needs to close the distance, make it ugly, and he loves to get the body lock takedown in the clinch. He will try to use a trip and end up in your half guard or full guard on the ground. And on top, he hasn't really shown much in terms of being able to control opponents on the mat. Fighters have been able to get up when he gets them down and not take too much damage. He has jiu-jitsu tatted on his chest, but he only has 1 career submission, and he's more of a decisionator. He has 3 finishes and 4 decision wins in his UFC career, and great cardio. He's a Mexican warrior, and he will fight to the end. He should look to, fight with a more Mexican style in this fight. He needs to get in O'Malley's face, throw more volume, get him backing up, and when he sees the openings for the takedowns, try to take the top position and hold it longer this time. But I'm going to go with Sean O'Malley via second round knockout. I just see him being able to control the distance and ultimately land that right hand that puts Quinones' lights out. And I believe that he could also potentially get a submission by hurting him and submitting him. But I think Sean O'Malley is going to come back and get the win here. Quinones, he's a guy that's, very technical. He's just not dangerous. And he's, kind of a guy that could get taken out. So, since he's not dangerous and he can't get taken out, I think that the dynamism of O'Malley is going to be able to do that for him in this fight. So my pick's going to be Sean O'Malley via second round. Man, this should be a war. This is the first fight on the main card. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this fight just because I don't have a great read on this fight. But this should be a great fight, man. I mean, this is going to be a battle for sure. Both these guys, maybe they haven't been able to reach the upper tier in the UFC, but they've given us some amazing fights. They're always killer be killed in there. And, Max Griffin, I mean, his chin is unreal, and he has some power. And Cowboy Oliveira, I mean, we've all seen the finishes that guy's done in the cage, the great performances he's had, the fights he's had. He has his back against the wall here. He has lost 3 consecutive fights. His last fight, I mean, that was kind of BS, man. I mean, that ref, he had him take it down. He was controlling him. He was doing damage in the 3rd round, and the ref stood them up. And he gave Dalby the win, essentially, because Cowboy was going to win the fight. I don't think Dalby was going to get up. So that was egregious, in my opinion. But you never would have lose 4 in a row. I don't know if he would be cut with a loss, just because he always brings it. He's a fan name. But like I said, you don't want to lose 4 in a row. And Max Griffin, he's still looking for consistency in the UFC. He's never won 2 consecutive fights. And whenever he looks like he's going to, get the momentum going, he always gets brought back down. That same tale replayed itself in his last match versus Alex Morono. He was coming off an upset victory, but couldn't bring that performance into his next fight, and he lost the decision of Morono. All of Griffin's losses, they've been back and forth, and he's not an easy out. He has an unreal chin. He can eat shots that would knock out, almost anyone, and then take big follow-ups and still somehow recover. I mean, in his last match, he got dropped with that flush head kick to the jaw. Morono followed up with like 3 or 4 knees to the chin, a clean spinning back fist, and Max Griffin somehow was still there and won the 3rd round. So he showed some very good durability in a lot of fights. I mean, the Elizeo Zaleski dos Santos fight, he's beaten a guy that's a power hitter like Mike Perry. But man, I mean, this is a coin flip fight. I feel like Alex Cowboy is more athletic, he's more dangerous and diverse, and he's done good versus boxers in the past who, Max Griffin, he's a guy that kind of likes to shoot the 2, body, head, and then look for those concussive hooks over the top when you brawl with him. And he kind of has gotten better of mixing in some wrestling now. But I feel that Cowboy's definitely the guy with the better footwork. Griffin is a little bit choppy with his footwork, and I think that Cowboy's a lot faster. And I actually feel like he'll be able to land heavy in the clinch also. And maybe we'll even try to take Griffin down. I mean, we've seen him take the back of, a lot of good boxers like Tim Means, like KJ Noons, and choke him out. So I think Griffin will be live because he has showed some improved cardio. And in his last fight, he did get a takedown in the third round and won that round, where that's usually a bad round for him. He's definitely more durable as well. But I'm going to pick Cowboy by TKO from the top position. But I don't want anything to do with this fight. I just want to enjoy it as a fan. It's a great fight, but I don't have a good read on this fight. I feel like both these guys are kind of maybe on the way out, but they're two very fan-friendly guys that are going to put on a performance here, so we'll see which one of them comes out on top, but I'm going to go with Alex Cowboy Oliveira. And I'm not sure we have a pretty fun fight. Another one, Li Jingliang taking on Neil Magny, and, the Leech, he's been nothing short of impressive lately. He was a big underdog in his last fight. He went in there against Elizio Zaleski dos Santos, who had won 7 fights in a row in the UFC, and he got the finish in that fight. And Leech, he's won 7 of his last 8 fights. He's won 3 in a row in the UFC. He's finished back-to-back fights, and he looks great. I mean, the Leech has kind of a deceiving style, in my opinion, because he starts slow. He looks bad at times. He'll come in with his chin high, get clipped, get dropped. He's been dropped in round 1 of, almost all of his UFC fights, but he seems to wake up after that, and he's a marauder, man. He has a good style to defeat Magny, but even in his last fight, I mean, he showed some big improvements in his footwork, his movement, his counters, and, he's improving steadily. I mean, I really like what I see from the Leech, but very effective low kicks that he brings to every fight. I feel he looks the best he's ever had in his last match. I mean, like I said, excellent footwork, movement, counters. His right hand was money. I mean, he measured it well. He landed a nasty straight right, a straight right. He was landing some nasty right uppercuts. He was slipping and ripping. He really dominated his last game. I mean, his jab looked very good, just not something you usually see. And he's very durable. He'll stick in the pocket, trade hooks. He landed a rear uppercut that dropped Zaleski, followed up with a barrage of shots that took him out. And he did that late in round 3, so he showed he has power throughout the whole fight. He sometimes can get, a little bit aggressive and throw some loopers or come forward with a rear uppercut and get caught. I feel in this fight, he's going to want to back Magny up, throw those low kicks, force him to fight skirting the fence. Same game plan that Ponzinibbio had, and he's the more durable, powerful guy. He's also on a run now, and he's extremely dangerous. He has 6 knockouts in the UFC, he has 7 overall. And he's going to likely have to show off the improvements in his defensive grappling in this one, though. His takedown defense has steadily improved. In his last 5 UFC fights, he's been taken down just 1 time. And he needs to avoid the clinch here, but I don't see Magny being very effective shooting takedowns at range. Leech is going to have to make Magny pay as he enters the clinch and use good footwork to try to avoid from even getting there. And he has gotten taken down. He has gotten takedowns himself in some recent fights, but I don't think he should really entertain the grappling with Magny. Leech does have 5 submissions, but only 1 in the UFC, and he has only been submitted once, and that was against a submission specialist in Keita Nakamura. But don't think you want to mess around on the ground here with Neil Magny. Keep it on the feet. And Leech has good cardio. He's riding a pretty good wave of momentum here. He has been questionable in decision fights, though. He's only 5-4 in decisions. Magny is 15-1 in decisions. So that's definitely something to think about. If this fight goes to the scorecards, Neil Magny has shown the ability to win much more than Li Jingliang. But Neil Magny is going to be making his return after a USADA suspension, and he hasn't fought since November of 2018. And in that fight, his last fight, he got absolutely dominated and face-planted and knocked out. So he was battered by Santiago Ponzinibbio, and Magny's had some big wins, and he's kept his top 15 spot for years, but he's kind of known as the easy touch of the top 15. I mean, everyone calls him out. Seems like not a lot of people really fear him. And we will see if he has some new skills here in his return. I mean, he's only 32, so he still has some time to improve. But all hardcore UFC fans know what Neil Magny is all about right now. By now, he's a very technical fighter. He's good standing and on the mat, but he's more of a point fighter. He lacks physicality. He just isn't a very dangerous guy. In his match with Ponzinibbio, Ponzi showed no respect for Magny's striking. He walked him down. He beat him up. In his match with Craig White, the first round was fairly competitive prior to Magny landing that knee. Those are not good signs for Magny's career going forward to me. And Neal, he's a long guy. He utilizes that well. He will switch stances. He fakes. He feints well. And he's pretty technical. He is at his best when he can go forward, throw volume. And he has a very nice jab. He'll double, triple up on it. He will throw some 1-2s or a left hook overhand right. He relies heavily on straight shots, though. He will mix it up body head, good front kicks to the body. He's always struggled badly with low kicks, though. He's very heavy on that lead leg, and his legs just can't take much damage. I mean, you could tell he doesn't have big legs at all. He will get swept off his feet with kicks, and he also doesn't have the greatest movement when he gets backed up. He'll look to shell up or slip and rip, and in his last fight, he was getting rocked badly with jabs. He took a ton of damage. He is a super tough guy. I mean, he would try to start strong in every round, even after he got hurt, but was just outmatched, and he just got brutally knocked out in the last, in his last fight. He suffered 3 big rounds of sustained damage. He got his leg absolutely battered as well. And, he's been KO TKO 3 times in his career. So his chin is kind of becoming a little bit questionable, but he will never quit in there. I mean, he's a guy that you're going to have to put out if you want to beat him, but he's a very solid grappler. The clinch is arguably the most dangerous aspect of his game, I would say. Nice elbows, nice knees, and he can land knees easier due to his height. In his last win, he did knock out he knocked down Craig White with a knee and then finished it up with ground and pound, but he's good at getting the body lock or tight waist there as well. He does a good job of using his leverage to take the back. Also, he has solid takedowns in the clinch. On top, he's pretty solid. Good passing ability, good control. He'll move to mount or the back and control there, but he doesn't really look for submissions a lot. He does have 60% takedown defense throughout his UFC career, and most people have been able to get him down who are high-level grapplers, so his takedown defense is decent. Off his back, he will attack with triangles, but he can be held down at times. He was submitted pretty easily by RDA off his back in a recent fight, but Magny has been submitted 4 times in his career, and when he usually loses, he's getting finished. I mean, he's been finished in 6 of his 7 losses, and he only has 3 submissions, only 1 in the UFC, so you don't really have to worry about him submitting you. But, one thing you never have to worry about is if Magny's going to come in shape. He has some of the best cardio in the UFC. He needs to come back, get a win here to show he's still kind of in the mix after this layoff. This should be a fun fight, but I just think Magny is maybe seen his better days, to be honest, man. It's hard for me to pick him. Leach, he's going to come hard, but I don't think he'll be dumb, man. He may get jabbed up a bit, hopefully not get taken down, but Magny isn't dangerous, and I don't see him getting a finish. I think Magny's going to want to use his jab straights, mix it up body head, get in the clinch, grind, and try to keep the volume high, stay on the front foot. And if he can do that, he has a chance to win. But Leach isn't the type of guy to get backed up. I see Leach using the low kicks, the movement, cutting off the cage, really beating up the legs of Magny, and likely getting him out of there, man. I don't see Leach gassing. I don't see him staying at the edge of boxing range where Magny's effective. I don't see him just letting himself get taken down and held down or controlled against the cage. I think Leach will win via first or second round knockout. I think he has a lot of momentum here. I think he also sees what his partner here, Weili Zhang is doing, who also has the belt now. He probably sees all the opportunities she's getting. I'm sure she's becoming a bigger star there in China, and he probably wants a piece of that pie. So that's also an extra motivation for him as well. And I think Li Jingliang is going to be able to go in there and get it done via finish. And I'm not sure we have another fight that I really don't have a great read on with Benny Dariush taking on Jakar Klose. And, this is a good matchmaking because both these guys, they're kind of on the fringe of the top 15, but I believe they could go into the top 15 and beat some guys in the top 15. So they're guys that are dangerous to top 15 guys. So they probably are struggling to get matchups or matched up against guys higher than them. But it's good to see that they are willing to fight each other and, see who's going to progress towards that top 15 next. But, Benny Dariush, he's already been in the top 15. He's, faltered and came back. Now he's won 3 fights in a row. He's defeated guys like Drew Dober, Frank Camacho. So, he's kind of steadied himself a little bit. And for Jakar Klose, he's always been weighted to the UFC. He's yet to lose. And, he's started his career off very well. I'm sorry, he actually did lose to David Tamor. I just remember that. But he's won, I believe, 5 out of his 6 UFC fights. So he's still started off very good. And in this fight, I believe Jakar, he still is the greatest boxer. And I do think that, if he allows Beneil Dariush to get into boxing range or to back him up, those big punches from Beneil could be dangerous. And Beneil always has that tie-up game as well. And I kind of feel like how this fight's going to go, though, is I think Jakar's going to try to be the bully and back him up and try to use a lot of low kicks and just kind of try to make a brawl with him and try to force him to prove that he's tougher than Jakar, which I don't think he's going to be able to be, and I don't think he's going to be more durable than Jakar either. I think that Jakar could wear him down with that type of game plan over 3 rounds if he really pushes a high pace, throws a lot of kicks, clinches up with him, brawls with him a little bit, forces him into some exchanges. I think he's going to be a little bit quicker, even though I do think Betty is probably more technical with the hands. And Betty has a lot bigger power than Jakar Klose. I mean, Betty has that, explosive power. He can knock you out with one shot. I don't really think Jakar has that, but I kind of feel like Jakar is also the better offensive wrestler here out of the two of these guys. So, the thing about Jakar, though, is he can be taken down. I mean, Bobby Green took him down. Christos Giagos took him down. He's been taken down in a lot of UFC fights. Mark Jacasey took him down. And, if he gets taken down, he tends to give his back up a lot. So that's something that really had me wondering here about picking Benny Dariush by submission, because if you give your back against a guy like Benny Dariush, there's a very likely chance you're going to get submitted. But the thing is, against a guy like Benny, Jakar has to know that he can't go to the mat with this guy, because he got mounted by Bobby Green. He got out-grappled by Bobby Green. If you're getting out-grappled by Bobby Green, I think you're going to get out-grappled easily by Beneil Dariush if it hits the mat. But I do think that as offensive wrestler, he's probably better than Betty. So I think the fight's going to come down to if Betty can get takedowns. And I'm actually going to say he can. I'm going to go with Jakar Klose. I think Jakar is going to be able to, walk him down. Just prove that he's maybe, the more conditioned guy and maybe a little bit tougher. I think he's going to maybe hurt the legs of Betty, have some clinch control time, land some punches, and just outwork him for a decision victory here. But wouldn't be surprised to see Benny Dariush get a submission here either. Man, up next here, Weili Zhang, Joanna, and Jedrzejczyk. I've been looking forward to this fight, man. I'm really excited for this one. I watched so many Weili fights for this. I went really deep on this, so I feel like I have a real good read on this fight. I'm definitely going to be placing a bet on this matchup. And, I'm ready to get into it right now. So, Weili Zhang, Joanna, and Jedrzejczyk. Weili, she burst on the UFC scene less than a year and a half ago. She's already claimed UFC gold. I mean, everyone always gives Israel Adesanya a bunch of credit for that, but Weili did the same thing. So she's on the cusp of stardom. She buzzsawed former champion Jessica Andrade in less than 1 minute. She did that in her home country of China, and now she's getting the chance to defeat the biggest name and most successful champion in the history of the strawweight division in Joanna and Jedrzejczyk. So if she gets that done, she will leap onto the scene, And Joanna, she's looking to become the first woman fighter to ever regain a title after losing it. She has, 2 failed bids at UFC Gold since losing her belt. So this is likely her final opportunity here. And she's a legend in the game, one of the best female fighters of all time. At her weight class of strawweight, she's only lost to one girl, Rose Namajunas, and the only other girl that she's lost to is Valentina Shevchenko, who's, a straight killer, and she actually performed well in that fight, and she's defeated almost every big name in the history of that division, and she's coming off a dominant victory over Michelle Waterson. She's extremely motivated to get her belt back, and I kind of came into this matchup with the preconceived notion that I was going to be all over Zhang, but after watching tape, man, I'm really not sure. I did predict Zhang to defeat Andrade, and that's mostly because I felt she was one of the few chicks who could, match Andrade's power and aggression, and she was more technical, and those two girls met in the middle, and Zhang landed some, a left, some elbows, some knees, and the fight was over. Andrade always blocked shots with her face, though, her entire career, and went power for power against Zhang. And JJ, she's not going to do that. JJ's going to play the range game. She's going to make Zhang come to her. But I believe she's going to effectively pressure Zhang. I believe she's going to feint, create openings, land jabs, low kicks, front kicks, change stances, angle, and just be a very difficult puzzle for her or for anyone to fight. Even in her fight with Valentina, man, the striking was really competitive at range. Rose was able to get over on her, but even in the second fight, the striking was competitive at range as well. And I actually think Rose would also knock out Weili Zhang. So that's just my opinion. I believe she's a much better striker at range. Zhang at range, in fights is a little bit robotic at times, and she's very predictable. She doesn't throw many techniques. If you go watch her fight with Daniel Taylor and Tisha Torres, Watch those fights. She was literally throwing an inside low kick, left hook combination over and over again. That was all she was throwing, and she would occasionally mix in a spin or a spinning back fist or a spinning kick, but her spins were a little bit awkward, especially in the Tisha fight, and they got her off balance, and that's a marked difference in the striking of JJ and Zhang. You know, you see Zhang still get over-eager at times, even with punches. She'll throw, she'll overextend, she'll spin, get herself off balance. And JJ, she's always balanced. She's always perfectly in control. Zhang, she will throw some nice heaters, some straight punches, some hooks in combination. When opponents close the distance, she's a solid counter puncher. She can get, wild doing that, though. And if she lands, she can hurt you. But if avoided, her chin is there to be hit also. The fight with Tecia Torres was very close. I mean, Torres had success with low kicks, with blitz combinations. She was exchanging in the pocket with Zhang. And her speed was a factor against Zhang. And Zhang will need to take JJ down and put her against the fence and hurt her with knees and elbows here, because I definitely think, she's live if JJ stays in the pocket and she can land a left or an elbow. She could easily hurt JJ, especially early. But I think the better striker on paper is easily Joanna. In the clinch, I actually think Joanna has maybe the better technique also. She was more dominant in the clinch against Tecia. I mean, she dug underhooks better. She definitely doesn't throw with as much venom in the clinch, though. I mean, if you ask me who's more dangerous in the clinch, that's definitely Zhang. I mean, Zhang has those knees, those elbows that if she can land those, she can rock you and take you out. And Joanna doesn't necessarily have that power, but I believe she's maybe more technical and maybe could even control Zhang against the fence. But Torres was able to scramble off bottom, get her back off the fence when Zhang tried to grapple with her, and she did get a takedown and control in a certain round, but Zhang did take her down and control her in round 3. And I believe that she may be able to take JJ down, but will she be able to hold her down? I doubt it. I really believe this line is crazy and off, man. I love Zhang. She's been a money train for me, but I think JJ is better everywhere. She's more experienced. She has better cardio. I think Zhang's only chance of winning is a knockout. I think JJ is going to do the knocking out, though. My pick's going to be JJ to get a KO TKO victory. Everyone talks about JJ not having any power, but I feel Zhang's going to be very confident. She's going to be like, I'm going to be able to take these shots, and I think she's not going to be able to see some of them coming and go down. I just favor JJ here. I think she should be the favorite in this matchup. I'm going to bet on JJ, and I'm going to say JJ wins via 4th round TKO, and yeah, my pick's going to be Joanna champion and new. Up next here, we have this is an amazing matchup, man. Israel Adesanya, Yoel Romero. And it's been kind of funny, man. I mean, if you think about the lead up to this fight, I mean, Yoel's been kind of sunning Israel a little bit. I mean, you saw, even in the media, at first, you saw that interview with the Schmo. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that interview. I'm usually not a big fan of the Schmo, but that was a classic interview right there. I mean, he got Yoel's personality out. Yoel was making some jokes. He was, even saying that, calling Israel like his little brother, like saying, like, he could never be as good as Big Brother. I'm 42 years old. You're never going to look like this at 42. And, he was clowning on you. He was kind of funny. I mean, and then, so I believe, if you think about it, I believe he won the media, but I believe he won, like, even the press conferences. Izzy got that issue where he was, had the 9/11, reference, and people got on him about that, and even in the Yoel was like unintentionally hilarious in the press conferences. So I believe Yoel beat him in the press conferences, in the build up, like the media build, and he also beat him in the dance off. So Yoel's 2-0 so far against Izzy, but we're gonna see if he can hit that trifecta and hit the one that actually matters, take the belt from him. But Yoel, man, he's been around, right? I mean, he's been fighting the best guys in the world for forever now. I mean, since he's joined the UFC, he's been fighting guys at the top of the heap. I mean, you saw him fighting Derek Brunson back in the day. He's fought that old generation of guys where Lyoto Machida's, the Jacare Souza's, the Chris Weidmans, and now he's getting into that new age guys, the Robert Whitakers, the Paulo Costas, the Israel Adesanyas, and no one has been able to run over Yoel Romero yet. I mean, every single time you get in that cage with Yoel Romero, you're going to remember that for the rest of your life, man. I mean, he goes in there and he takes guys out. I mean, look at Luke Rockhold, look at Chris Weidman. I mean, he knocked those guys unconscious, former UFC champions. I mean, he goes out there and he's a guy that his style is crazy, man. I mean, it's really like, it's hard to, he's like, he lulls you in a sense of security, man. I mean, the way that he fights is insane. He literally will back himself up. He holds his hands out. He just tries to, he lets you hit him almost. He's blocking and he's staying extremely calm. Like in his fight with Paulo Costa, I mean, he was getting hit. He was rolling with shots. He was just staying calm in the pocket, looking for counters. And it's almost like, when you're like told, like if you get in a car crash, if you just completely relax, you won't, take as much damage. It's like Yoel is totally relaxed there. I mean, and he could eat flush head kicks. He could eat, punches right to the jaw, and he just continues to come forward because it's like, I don't know. He could take the impact of the shots. He doesn't have a neck, man. It's crazy. It's like, I don't know, but Yoel, he's a freak of nature. And Israel Adesanya, he's going to be the technician. It's really the technician against the athletic specimen. And we're going to see, if Izzy's going to be able to do what he did in his last fight. I mean, if everyone watched my last prediction with Izzy, I said he was going to make it look very easy against Whitaker. He was going to dominate him. And, man, he proved me right on that one. He basically knocked out Whitaker twice in that fight, in the first round and the second round. But, this is a completely different matchup because Whitaker, he's a guy that usually likes to, play the range game, use kicks, stay on the outside, and be the more technical guy. In this fight, Yoel is a guy who's an exploder, man, and we've seen Israel have trouble with that left hook and with the exploders. So it's going to be interesting, because I feel like everyone's extremely confident on Israel here, and I get why, because if Yoel doesn't get a finish, he's not going to be able to win the fight, most likely, unless he can get knockdowns in multiple rounds, because Israel is going to throw way more volume, most likely. He's going to be the guy controlling the center of the cage, I would imagine, and he's going to be the guy that's, going to be touching Yoel, so he's going to be jabbing, touch with the front kicks, and he's going to be the one landing more volume and probably being the more technical guy, looking better, throwing, the prettier strikes, and Yoel is probably going to be missing a lot. I mean, he tends to miss a lot. He'll overextend. He'll get very wild, but man, I mean, if he lands one shot, it's dangerous. And the thing is about Izzy, he holds his hands low, man. And against a guy like Yoel Romero, I mean, we saw against Kelvin Gastelum, he was able to close that gap on Izzy, sat him down with a left hook. And what's one of the shots that Yoel really likes? That lead hook, and he could switch stances. So Yoel's going to back himself up to the fence, or he's going to go forward, eat shots, and back up Yoel, back up Izzy, which I think is going to be the scary moments for Yoel. I mean, when he starts going forward and doing that Marauder type style, like he starts kind of like really putting the pressure on and throwing volume like he did in that third round against Paulo, he's open to counters there, and that's when you see the shots that you don't see, and that's where Izzy could really hurt him. If he can land a left hook or something real tight that he doesn't see, then he could potentially take Yoel out. But if Yoel is backed up towards the fence, or he's standing in front of him and he's kind of playing that game where he's waiting for Izzy and he's rolling with the shots and he sees the shots coming, I don't think many people in the world are going to knock out Yoel Romero. I mean, that guy just has some extreme durability. And, the ability to close that distance is going to be something in this fight, especially, because I don't think, I think if Yoel touches him with that left hook, I think Izzy's going to go down, man. I really do. So that's it's really intriguing me, because I saw Kelvin hit him with the left hook, and he could, man, I mean, I also, I don't really think Yoel's going to wrestle. A lot of people are, talking about he should bring the wrestling in this one. I mean, maybe he should threaten it, feint the level changes like he was against Costa and stuff like that. But I don't think he's going to come in here and try to control Israel on the ground or anything, or control him against the cage. I think it's going to be his type of fight where he's getting himself backed up. He's not throwing a lot of volume, and he's probably going to be losing until he's winning if he is to win. And Israel, I believe that he's going to be, probably, if he's smart, he's going to be attacking the body. He's going to be throwing straights. He's going to be throwing jabs. He's going to be trying to keep that distance and just outpoint Yoel, stay smart. And when Yoel starts to get desperate and start, making those big advancements, throwing wide shots, that's where he's going to be able to potentially finish him with, just tighter, more technical punching. But, the thing is, man, I don't know. I'm just getting this weird feeling. I'm gonna pick Yoel Romero. I'm gonna pick Yoel Romero via knockout in this fight. I just think he's gonna be able to do it, man. I think he's gonna knock him out. This is most likely his last opportunity at the belt. Even though in his last two title fights, He beat Luke Rockhold, but he didn't get the belt. Very similar to the Deiveson Figueiredo situation where, he missed weight for a title fight. And then when he fought against Robert Whittaker the second time, he missed weight again for that fight. But both those fights, were short notice fights, which it isn't an excuse for him, but, I guess it is a little bit of an excuse. But I think he's going to make weight for this fight. And, both those fights, you could arguably say he won both those fights. So maybe in his last 2 title fights, he could easily be 2-0. So it's not like it's that big of a thing. And even in his fight with Paulo, he could have won that fight as well. But, could Izzy go out here and dominate him? Could he knock him out? Yes. Could he beat him 5-0? Yes. Could this look like a horrible pick? Yes. But, man, the line, to me, anytime you can get Yoel Romero at those dog odds, I think it's almost worth a shot, man. I don't know if I'm gonna play him or not, but yeah, I just feel like Yoel is with those hands low of Israel. I think that he's just gonna be able to. I think Israel is gonna get comfortable backing him up, and I think he's gonna. I don't know. I think he might start to stay in front of him when Yoel backs up against the cage, and I think Yoel's gonna explode forward and land a left hook right straight, or land like a left hook flying knee and knock Israel out. I think he's gonna upset the apple cart here. So, man, I don't know. I'm going with Yoel Romero. I know a lot of people probably aren't gonna agree with either of my picks in both of the title fights, but we'll see what happens. I'm actually very confident that Joanna and Jedrzejczyk's gonna get it done. So, this one I'm not as confident in, but I'm going to go with Yoel Romero to get the win, get the upset here, and finally get UFC gold. But yeah, so that's the breakdown for UFC 248 card. I hope you guys enjoyed that. But for the most confident pick of the night, it's going to be Sean O'Malley. The parlay of the week is going to be the Leech, Li Jingliang, and O Madsen. And for my upset of the week, it's going to be Joanna and Jedrzejczyk to get that strawweight strap. So so. Like I said, make sure to leave a comment down there. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video, and follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Hit that bell notification for all these videos. Wednesday, I'm going to be trying to put out that new fan questions video as well. So I will be talking to you guys later in this week. So yeah, thanks for always supporting the channel. Thanks for always watching. And let's have fun watching these fights on Saturday.